Hey everybody, this is Stitch 1993 and welcome back to another underrated games video where I talk about video games that I feel are pretty underrated or just not talked about as much. And today I'm talking about another trilogy of games that are edutainment games. So this is the Smart Games Challenge, first game releasing in 1996 and the third game of the trilogy releasing in 1998. It was created by the developers Nowhere, and it appears that they've been defunct for a while, with their last game being Cat Dog Quest for the Golden Hydrant back in 1999 for the PC, but they're pretty well known in the edutainment world. They helped back in the 90s with some of the early Jumpstart games, as well as a couple of the first Reader Rabbit games, or at least the 90s versions of the Reader Rabbit games. But today we're going to jump into these three game collections. Starting with the first one, I'm going to go through pretty much every little game and give my thoughts on them, and of course explain how to play them, or at least how there are instructions, but this is my only pet peeve with the games, is sometimes the instructions are just a little too long in the tooth for what it's trying to explain for you to do. However, most of them are pretty straightforward with a little bit of trial and error. And yeah, so these were published by Hasbro Interactive, which is now like a subsidiary of the Atari games, but not that Atari, a different Atari. And yeah, so the reason why I'm talking about these is I've got another story. So back in the late 90s, my dad was downloading games onto my PC, and for a brief second, the first game was downloaded. I remember the weird graphics, the swirling tornado-like look of the menu, and that kind of jazzy music, but for whatever reason he immediately uninstalled it. I don't know if it just was not running right, or he just thought maybe it was a little too ahead of my time to get, because this would have been 1996, 1997, and that would have been I was about like 3 or 4 years old. I think I would have eventually figured them out, but anyway, so I forgot about these for the longest time until just one day I'm kind of looking up games online, and I see the box art for this one. I'm just like, man, that for some odd reason is calling to me. So I look it up, and lo and behold, there it is. So let's start with the first game, shall we? So there is about almost 20 mini games in each of these little collections here. I'm just going to go through each and every one of them. So View Cubes is the first game. This was an interesting one where you figure out if the picture shown on the right hand side is feasible based on the flat view of the block. Sometimes it would show you just a straight just one image. Other times it would show like almost kind of a three-dimensional image, and you have to figure out if those 2 or 3 or however many pieces is shown are there would actually be the correct way they would show on the block. Car Jam is like a classic title. It even on the cover of the box art it says including the hit game Car Jam. So this has been kind of a hit little puzzle game for a while, where you try to get the little red car out of the parking lot by moving the other cars and trucks and everything. Traffic, this one was an interesting one. So you were trying to figure out the correct light sequence to allow all cars to pass in the quickest time possible. I'm sure if I had spent more time on this one, I would have eventually figured it out, but it was not as user-friendly as some of these other games here, so I kind of did not spend as much time on that one. Take a Number is a simple math puzzle game where you have to show the work on how the math problem should be solved based on the limited characters the game provides you. Native Tongue was right up my alley. So you are given pictures, and it's a problem solving of determining what the pictures mean with the certain words and sentences that are underneath them. Cash Crop was just kind of a very easy game. You kind of just want to collect the most valuable crops, the quickest way to get the most money. Word Builder was kind of similar to Boggle, where you try to make the longest word using the limited alphabet. Sometimes it gives you the whole alphabet, sometimes it gives you just a certain amount of letters. You can only use the letters once, though. Match play is those games. I grew up with them a lot in books where it would show you a picture of the matches, and you're like, from this picture, move only 2 matches to make 4 boxes, and you'd have to figure that out. So this is the video game version of that. Crosswords, I couldn't figure out exactly how this one worked. I assume you should select certain letters to get a high score, but nothing ever advised me I was correct or not. Now, with most of these games, it does like show a little cheering screen, little cheer, or you'll hear like a little ding or something knowing you got it right. This one, just whatever I clicked on, it just didn't do anything. Word Melt, a word puzzle where you had to change one letter at a time to eventually make the top word that it gave you turn into the bottom word that it would be given. Entropy, you try to fill in the blank spaces with as little clicks as possible. Warehouse is a simple just move the ball to the target game. Word search is just crossword puzzles. World Series, so basically you try to figure out what the next series of words or numbers are going to be in a row. I've never been good at this type of puzzle game, so I couldn't get a single one right. Generations, again, this is another one where it's like it gave you instructions, but it's almost like a mini book on what exactly you're supposed to do here. So I had no idea how this really worked. I played around with it for quite a while, and I did read the instructions, and it didn't click. Sliding tiles is exactly how the game is described. Anagrams was really fun because it's just anagram puzzles that you decipher, and then once all the words are deciphered, you use one letter of each of those words to figure out the final anagram. Marble Jump is just a marble version of that wooden triangle and golf ball tee game from Cracker Barrel. Finally, the last one is Cryptograms, another puzzle where you decipher word puzzles to make a sentence or multiple sentences. Overall, this was just a pretty fun game. Again, there's like 1 or 2 puzzle games that I didn't really quite click with or really understand, but I never said I was the smartest gamer. So we got 2 more games. Now, you probably are asking, who the heck is the guy in the glasses? I have no clue. I tried doing research. I went to multiple websites where they reviewed the game, and just like nobody ever said what this guy's name was. They just called him like the bespectacled man or like the nerd. So I'm like, okay, it looked like maybe he was like a character of like the creator of the game. Nope, nothing pulls up like that. So I am just as clueless as mostly probably you are on who the guy on the front of the box is. Now, if you know who the guy is on the front of the box, comment down below, because yeah, that would be news to me. Alright, so the next game came out, a year later, 1997. Game Challenges 2. And it had another good handful of fun games. First one was Say What. So this was a really interesting one. So it was a puzzle game where it gave you word bites sliced up, and then you had to listen to them and then put them in the correct order. Some of them would be like speeches, others would just be small musical compositions, and yeah, you just had this was one that was a little, at least the version I was playing, a little buggy, so you'd had to like wait a couple seconds after you place the piece down for it to then play it for you.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Odyssey, by using the numbers on the board, you click on the tiles to move your game piece goal. So it's like, you place your little piece down, and then you try to move the ball around the board, and each piece would show you, where it could go next. Kind of like how the chess pieces are, where it's like this piece can only move this many tiles. Basically, is like anytime you jumped on another tile, it would then tell you this piece could then move this way or that way, and then how many moves it could make. Fool's Jewels was a simple puzzle game where you want to use the tiles to cover up the lumps of coal while still making sure the gold and later on other type of gems were still viewable. Borderlines was a puzzle game where you rotate tiles around until all the borders on the inside align and match each other. Gates of Trivia was just a simple trivia question on multiple subjects. Most of them was like on stuff I learned probably in like middle school and high school and stuff I just do not remember. Pick Packs. This was a fun one. So it's a puzzle game where you have to rotate and place tiles in a box to match the completed image on the left-hand side. This is another one of those where you could still play this today, but like physically. It's one of those, like if you go to like, sometimes they'll show up in Walmart, but if you've got like a local like puzzle and games store, like actual puzzles and games, this is one that they usually not only have for sale, but usually they have on display and you can like play around with it and stuff. Pipeline was a game where you use pipes to connect the faucet to the gauge. However, I learned this, you have to use every single piece provided to you, so you can't just make your own pipes. You have to figure out how all of them that are given to you fit onto the board while connecting from one end to the other. Ice House is just one of those simple games where you just push the block, it floats, you can't control it after you push it, and you try to push it onto the little goal area. Brain Candy was a game where you create a row of candy where each piece of candy or sections of candy should share one trait with at least the other two sides of the candy until you make a complete row where they each kind of match each other. Down and Across, I couldn't figure how this game worked. It seemed like you were supposed to play it kind of like Scrabble, only it gave you a preset list of words to use, but nothing seemed to like really work. It's a Wrap is answering short word puzzles so that one letter from each of the words makes up the final word in the puzzle. I should mention it that some of these games you did actually have to type out the words. It would not just give you like a list to drag and drop from, and it would tell you if a word did not exist, and then it would tell you like this game is programmed to have like over 100,000 words in it. So that was pretty neat. Polf is just miniature golf. That's really all it is. Sticks and Stones is a puzzle game where you have to figure out how to fit the sticks and stones provided to you in these hexagonal box shapes without anything overlapping, and also sometimes you had to put them in a correct order based on the numbers provided on the top and left hand side. Leapfrog is pretty much, as the title explains, it is leapfrog. You just have this little, I think it's a toad actually, or maybe it's just a larger bullfrog, but you gotta leap over all the other frogs without falling in the water or running out of spaces. Math Transit is like those math puzzles you'd get in like middle school and high school. Is like, this train is running at 6 o'clock p.m. This train runs at like 8, and this one runs at 2. If you need to get to this place by 3 o'clock, tell which of the trains and which order you would use to get there, and then you'd have to. It was that, which I've never been a fan of, so I didn't really play this one. I just captured footage and I moved on. Slideshow was an interesting one. So it did give you like a finished puzzle, but the pieces were scrambled, so it kind of gave a checker. So each piece of the slides had only sections of the image, and you had to move the sliders up, down, left, and right until you got the complete image. Writer's block was no one I really couldn't figure out. It's supposed to be like dominoes, but with words. But I got pretty stumped in like the first puzzle, and I just couldn't move on. Also, this game for some odd reason kept like freezing on me, so I don't know if that was an issue on my end or the game's end, but I had to like exit out of it a couple times. Math path is you just move around a board trying to get the biggest number by adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying the numbers that are on the board given. Mirror Mirror is a digital version of that classic game of setting up the small mirrors around a room and then firing a little laser in order for the lights to reflect off the mirrors and onto a little target. And then finally we had Word Pyramid, where you use the tiles given to try to fill the blank spaces in and create words to get the highest score. This one was about as equal as fun as the first one. I don't think any of these were like, if I had to pick and choose one, I don't think I could, because there's like puzzles from each of the 3 games that are really fun. Third one came out, as I said, in 1998. The first game in it is Take a Seat, where you have to figure out where to seat everybody on a plane based on the instructions of where they can't sit. So like, you're like, these people, you can only fit them on the left-sided seats, or they need to be near a window. You can't have 2 in the same section. They can't be behind or in front of somebody else. So basically like that. Snake Pit, you just move the tiles and fit them on the board to complete the snake puzzle. Balloon Kaboom, you use air to move balloons until you match 3 of a kind. It's a Snap, you place Lego-like bricks down on a board so that they connect the gray blocks together. Solo Kala is a single-player version of Mancala. Meteor Mayhem, you are a small spaceship trying to destroy the other meteors around you in the least amount of moves possible. Butterflies was an interesting game. So you slide butterflies around on a grid, or really you can pick and drop them, but they really are just sliding until you match 3 of a kind. But you gotta be careful because you can only move 1 butterfly at a time, and the butterflies will automatically fly away if any 3 of them are in a row together, and that is horizontal, vertical, or perpendicular to each other. But you only get points if there are 3 of the same kind. Crossword Slide was fun. You slide the letters along the tiles until you create the word given on the right hand side of the screen. Paper, Scissors, Rocks was just you playing rock, paper, scissors until there was only 1 item available, and the 1 item that remains needed to be the item pictured on the left hand side. This is similar to that marble jump game from the game challenge number 1. Silly Buster is you just answer questions and build words using the set of letters provided. Who, What, Where, When was just answering simple trivia questions using the word list provided, but not all the words provided would be used. Paradox Puzzle. So you move these balls around these like eye trick sort of mazes until the pattern matches whatever pattern is given to you. Gumballs is just you shooting gumballs into little glass jars based on whatever the goal says should be in each jar. So sometimes it says you just need 1 gumball in each of the jars. Other goals are like ones of certain colors, or matching colors, or stuff like that. Poker Solitaire, so you move cards around until you get the highest rank you can in poker. Tumble Die, you move the dice around the board until it matches the picture on the right hand side of the screen. I did eventually have like an issue with this, because after if it got into like a certain little angle, and this was more when there was more than 1 dice on the board, it would like get stuck, and no matter what I clicked on, it would not move. So I'd have to like go out of it and then come back in. Word Flip is you flipping the letters around in as few moves as possible to spell out the answer to the clue given at the top. sheepdog, you move the dog around the screen until you get the sheep into the light patch of grass. The sheep can be pretty stubborn though, and the answers to the puzzles are more difficult than they may first appear. The shopping cart was a weird one. I got it, I just could never figure, to get the exact amount. So you basically need to buy certain items until you get the exact amount of money listed on the goal. I'm not the biggest person with budgeting, so probably somebody that's better with like budgeting or math would be more into that game than I was. Last one is word loops. So you type out words that match the rest of the words on the screen without using the same words already on the board. This was probably my favorite out of all these for game challenge on number 3, just because I like those type of puzzles there. And that is it. I will say it was kind of hard doing research for this game series. Not because it's unknown, it's just the games are literally called smart challenge games, which, in the 90s, not as common as like something today where that's like 80% of what the mobile games are called is smart games or challenge games, or any variety of the 3 of those words mixed together. So yeah, but overall really fun games. If you notice that the games are kind of a little grainy on the screen, it's because for some odd reason they only were in windowed mode. They did not have an option for me to like do full screen on these, so apologize for the kind of iffy graphics. But I would highly recommend you check these games out. They are for like Windows 95, Windows 98. So if you do have those games or you do purchase them, just keep in mind they probably aren't going to work on newer programs. You're probably going to get something like, I'm playing these through a virtual box of Windows XP, and they work great outside of like that one game. So definitely probably go that route. You can also like find all 3 of these games on myabandonware.com. That's where I got these from. They're unfortunately not available through any current means of obtaining them digitally. So they're not on Steam as the recording of this video, and they're not on good old games, GOG.com either. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, did you grow up with any 3 of these games, or at least, familiar with the box art? And out of all these puzzle games, which one do you think you would get the most into? I can't wait to read your thoughts, and until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.